Hey everyone, what's going on? This video is going to be very, very in-depth with a lot of things that I have been following for a number of years. And if you've been following what I've been saying recently, there's a whole lot of things synced up to pig symbolism, and such as Alec Baldwin synced up to the pig symbolism, and Squid Game synced up to the pig symbolism. And a lot of that has to do with money and think about, piggy bank and bacon. And in 2019, it was the Chinese Year of the Pig. And that year was also very important to a narrative with Tisha B'Av, and it was also very important to France. And that was also the year that I really understood and learned the Francis Bacon ciphers. And it's just an interesting thing to think about when you think about Francis Bacon. If you slow it down, France is bacon, right? And I think what I am supposed to see with these patterns that are existing is that I need to pay attention to France. And I want to go back to 2019, even 2018, and re-explain some things, because all of these things that are going on in the media are related to the same narrative that I'm talking about. And we recently got the story about Kal Penn, the Harold and Kumar guy. He came out as gay. And the very next day, we got a story about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how she has coronavirus. Christy Swanson, Buffy from the movie. And we also got the death of this horse rider, a jockey. And as I will explain as we move along here, these things were all very important in 2019. I was following this big narrative with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it was also synced to the Big Bang Theory. And on the very last episode of the Big Bang Theory, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the TV show, she was the running joke on the very everlast episode of the Big Bang Theory. But just before that, the Big Bang Theory had surpassed Cheers for the longest running, most episodes. They had 276 episodes and they surpassed Cheers. And on that episode, it just so happened to have the actor Kal Penn. And there's a whole lot more to this, because right after this, we had the Kentucky Derby, where I can't remember who cheated. Either Country House cheated or Maximum Security cheated. Whatever it was, one of them cheated and won, and that was the big thing, was Country House and Maximum Security. And that same day as the Kentucky Derby, we got a story about a plane that skidded off the runway in Florida, and it went into a 310-mile river, and the word Florida equals 310. And that plane was coming from Guantanamo Bay, and I said, hey, look at this. Kal Penn, he's in Harold and Kumar, and one of their major movies is Escape from Guantanamo Bay. And think about the horse, Maximum Security, in Guantanamo Bay, right? And to put this in perspective, earlier this year, Joe Biden said that he was going to get rid of Guantanamo Bay. So there's, we just had the Cuban Atlanta Braves player become the MVP of the World Series too, right? He's Cuban, Guantanamo Bay. There's definitely something connected to these old narratives. So, and Alec Baldwin is also important to all of this as well. Alec Baldwin, I'll show you as we move along, but Alec Baldwin, I had synchronicity with Alec Baldwin back around this same time. So, hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to go back and explain all this. So back in November of 2018, there was a story in the news about David Arquette and how David Arquette was in a bloody wrestling match. Let's see if I can find it here. But there we go. David Arquette was in a bloody wrestling match. And, I made a blog post about this November 20th. And honestly, I know David Arquette mostly from the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's in the movie, and he's best friends with Luke Perry in the movie. And Luke Perry is Buffy the Vampire Slayer's boyfriend. And a few days later, we got the main story on CNN was this 310-mile dust storm in Australia. And on that same day, we also had a story about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how she was wearing sexy lingerie on like a blog post or a Twitter post or something, and she apologized for it. And what's so interesting about this, so it was Sarah Michelle Gellar, right? And I'm thinking of the movie, but it's still Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I noticed, it was a 310-mile dust storm in Australia. And I noticed that if you write out Buffy the Vampire Slayer in gematria, it equals 310. And then I went and looked up Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show, and it just so happened to first air on the date 310. And as we move along here, I later found out that Buffy Summers equals 310 in the Francis Bacon ciphers that I learned were important because of all of this. But, 310, knew this was an important number with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Also, this story is about lingerie. Lingerie equals 79, Vampire Slayer 79. The story came 7 months and 9 days after Sarah Michelle Gellar's birthday, and if you write out 310, it equals 79. And also, on Buffy the show, she has the Scooby Gang, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's also on Scooby-Doo, the movie. And if you write out Scooby, it also equals 79, right? So there's all these interesting parallels that stick back to the number 310. And I kept watching for something to go along with this narrative, because we had David Arquette, then Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And lo and behold, on March 4th, we then got the death of Luke Perry. And Luke Perry, of course, he played Buffy the Vampire Slayer he played Buffy the Vampire Slayer's boyfriend on the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And what was so interesting, if I could find the post here, he ends up dying on the date 3/4. I don't know where I put it. Here we go. But he just so happened to die 3 months and 10 days after my post about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the number 310, right? He dies 3 months and 10 days later. Buffy the Vampire Slayer equals 310. The TV show premiered on 310. And this same day that Luke Perry died, we got a story about the actor Corey Feldman and how he defended some tweet, or he defended Michael Jackson, because there was a new movie called Leaving Neverland that came out, and it basically said Michael Jackson was a child molester and so on. And Corey Feldman, the guy who's all about Hollywood pedophilia, he defended Michael Jackson or whatever, right? And it was a big deal. And this really stuck out to me because the film's called Leaving Neverland. And if you go back to 2017, I was talking about this big theme with the movie Stand By Me, the movie that has Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell and also River Phoenix. And on Halloween that year, we got a story about, or that was the day that River Phoenix died in history, but we also got a story about Jerry O'Connell being on the Wendy Williams show, and Wendy Williams collapsed dressed as the Statue of Liberty. And then Corey Feldman was in the news right around that same time about Hollywood pedophilia and whatnot, because we had Rose McGowan and the Me Too movement and Harvey Weinstein and a bunch of stuff. But Corey Feldman was all of a sudden in the media at that time. And Corey Feldman, he started this thing called he started an Indiegogo campaign, right? That equaled 310. And around that time, I was pointing out, I was saying, the only two people that haven't been in the news are Will Wheaton and Kiefer Sutherland, who are also important to the movie Stand By Me. And then 2 days later, Will Wheaton just so happened to be on the episode of The Big Bang Theory, the brand new episode, and he hadn't been on an episode for over a year. And I was like, what are the odds he's on The Big Bang Theory, right? And then 5 days later, we got the Sutherland Springs church shooting near San Antonio, Texas. And Sutherland Springs, and I'm talking about how Kiefer Sutherland and Will Wheaton are important, and then we get these two things going on. So I knew there was something important. And Kiefer Sutherland's father is also the character Merrick in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who trains Buffy. So I was like, there's some interesting relationship. But think about Corey Feldman as well. Corey Feldman is also in the vampire movie called The Lost Boys. Think about The Lost Boys, Peter Pan, Michael Jackson leaving Neverland, right? So I just figured there was something important to that. And also, Corey Feldman's also known for the other actor named Corey Haim, and who's also in The Lost Boys. And Corey Haim, he just so happened to die on 3/10. So I was like, there has to be something to this. And I went and looked up The Lost Boys, and oddly enough, The Lost Boys just so happened to come out on July 31st, 1987. And if you look up Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the film, it just so happened to come out on July 31st as well. July 31st, 1992. And what's so interesting about this, if you go from July 31st to my birthday, and I loved this movie as a kid. It was one of my favorite movies. For whatever reason, I still love it. But if you go to my birthday, it's 3 months and 10 days. So The Lost Boys came out 3 months and 10 days before my 5th birthday. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out 3 months and 10 days before my 10th birthday. Or 3 months and 10 days before my 10th birthday, right? So I was like, there has to be something to this. And I realized I had never seen The Lost Boys Part 2. Or even Part 3. The Lost Boys, The Tribe, I think it's called. And I was watching this movie, whatever, I don't know if I won't even pull it up, but when I was watching this movie, I noticed that every time the vampires kill somebody, they do this distinct whistle. I will pull it up on my blog here, but The Lost Boys, The Tribe. It's interesting, too, thinking about that with the Indians that I've just talked about, too, but let me go back here. I'll find it here. The Lost Boys. So here's the post here. I was watching this movie, and like I said, just before they kill people, they do this whistle, and it's like a dark whistle. It's like... And what I thought was interesting is that I recognized that same whistle from one of my daughter's shows. Her favorite show at the time, it was called Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia. And these trolls also do that exact same whistle. And it's like the same dark sounding whistle on this movie as it is on Troll Hunters. And I was like, what is that song even from? And apparently it is a famous old song. It's called In the Hall of the Mountain King. And it's by this guy, Edvard Hagerup Grieg. And it's from this play called Per Gent that is about trolls. Which makes sense because, Troll Hunter and so on. And I mean, even though it's a popular song, apparently, the way that they do it on the movie and that TV show, they slow it down and make it darker. It's not the same as the popular song. And maybe that's why I didn't quite recognize it or something. But moral of the story is, when I looked up this guy, his name in gematria just so happens to equal 310. Edvard, type it out here. Edvard Hagerup Grieg equaled 310. And that story about Corey Feldman's tweet just so happened to be 3 months and 10 days before that guy's birthday. And he also died by the numbers and so on. I'll skip over that. But I then looked up the play Peer Gent or Per Gent, and it premiered on 2/24/1876. And 2/24 just so happens to be the day that leaves 310 days in the year. And then I ended up, I was like, I wonder if there's something to do with trolls, right? Trolling. And in 2016, I talked about a troll theme that was going on. There was like the Troll movie that came out, and South Park was doing that whole troll chase for the whole season. It was all about I can't remember what country it was. It was like a Scandinavian country, like Norway or somewhere in that area, they were doing the troll trace, like Denmark maybe. And there was a bunch of other things. I kept getting trolled like no other on my Jeopardy videos. And this stuck out to me because right around this same time, on March 6th of 2019, Alex Trebek announced that he had cancer. And then we later had Jeopardy James and a whole bunch of stuff. And I went back and looked at my trolling information because of all that, and what I had blogged about back then was how the creator of the troll doll, he died 3 months and 10 days after his birthday, or maybe before. One or the other, 3 months and 10 days. And they've now changed that on Wikipedia, and it really makes absolutely no sense, like the dates. It's all over the place. But at the time, it was 3 months and 10 days. So I was like, huh. But now another connection to trolls and the number 310. And of course, a couple months later, we got a story about the actress Christy Swanson, who plays Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the movie, and how she got trolled over her stance for loving Donald Trump or whatever. And there was a big old story about how she got trolled like by these people on Twitter. But maybe I'll show that in later in the video here. But I just wanted to bring up that it was, Jeopardy was involved and there was a troll theme. And another thing with that trolling stuff that was going on, I pointed out back then how the biggest trolled video I ever had was a video I made in 2017 about the band Slipknot or their lead singer Corey Taylor, and how it was synced up to what I've recently been talking about with Kanye West, and Kanye West being important to the World Series. And that was the most trolled video I'd ever had in my life. I had tons of people tell me to kill myself and all kinds of stuff, and all the comments are deleted now. They're not even there anymore. It was just the most trolled video I've ever had. And I bring that up because in 2018, just before that Buffy the Vampire Slayer lingerie story, we were starting to notice this pattern that was going on with the 2019 and how it was connected to Tisha B'Av. And I pointed out how on November 2nd, the same day that the movie Bohemian Rhapsody came out, and that movie was important to Kanye West and Slipknot, because Kanye West sang Bohemian Rhapsody in 2015 at Glastonbury. And then the video that I got trolled on was talking about the lead singer of Slipknot talking crap to Kanye West and whatever. And so, we got Bohemian Rhapsody come out that day, and then they also announced that Slipknot tickets to the Iowa State Fair went on sale that day. And that was interesting because Slipknot was going to be playing at the Iowa State Fair during Tisha B'Av in 2019 on the very first day, the beginning, August 10th. And they'd never played at the Iowa State Fair before, and they're a band from Iowa, and they're really famous, have a Grammy. So it was a big deal that they've actually were playing at the Iowa State Fair for the first time, and they've been around for, damn near 20 years and so on. And there's a whole lot more that goes with this, but the point I'm making is that we were following that date like it was a big date, and August 10th and August 11th was when Tisha B'Av fell. And the date 310 is also interesting because that's Osama bin Laden's birthday. And Osama bin Laden actually died 3 months and 10 days before Al-Qaeda was created. And Al-Qaeda was created on August 11th or whatever. So Tisha B'Av, right, of 2019. So I was like, maybe there's something to do with a terrorist attack or Osama bin Laden, 310. And I was also thinking about the date 310 because the Super Bowl 53 was all about, it was the Rams versus the Patriots, Super Bowl 53. Something I had talked about a whole lot all that year because there was a whole bunch of Moses symbolism and whatever that was going on. And, Moses was in the age of Aries, and Aries is a ram. And the Rams are synced up to this narrative with the Nebraska Cornhuskers that I've talked about for a ton of years, and Moses and so on, because Nebraska plays in the Sea of Red, and Moses parted the Red Sea, and Abraham Lincoln, Nebraska. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Moses freed the slaves. The Kansas City Chiefs also play in the Sea of Red, so there was a big thing with that. But in 2015, Nebraska ended up getting a bowl game, and they played in Levi Stadium, and Moses was in the tribe of Levi, and a whole bunch of things synced up to the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Moses. And literally, we got that story about what was it? The Native American guy at the Lincoln Monument or something, right? Just before the Super Bowl that year. I can't remember what they were can't remember what it was. It was, I'm trying to think what that story was, but there was a high school that went there, and then they got in a fight with the Native American guy or something, right? And that guy was like from Lincoln, Nebraska, where the Cornhuskers play. And then like the Rams, they made the Super Bowl because their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, made a field goal, and he was like from Lincoln, Nebraska. And the Patriots made the Super Bowl because of the score by Rex Burkhead, who played with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And then John Perry was the head referee of the Super Bowl, and he was like from Lincoln, Nebraska. There's all kinds of connections to Lincoln, Nebraska, and the Cornhuskers. And if you follow what I said in 2015 in February with the All-Star Week, there was this big narrative with Teen Wolf and the player Zach LaVine. And he was a 19-year-old Minnesota Timberwolf who won the slam dunk contest on Valentine's Day, the same day that Denzel Valentine hit a game winner for Michigan State, and a whole bunch of other things. It led me to think Nebraska was synced up to UCLA, and then they ended up playing UCLA in the Foster Farms Bowl in Levi's Stadium later that year. And just a ton of stuff. I don't want to re-explain all that, but I just want to point out that that narrative was important to Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine, a famous Chicago Bull player now, his birthday is 3/10. And it's 1995 even, and that's the day that Michael Jordan came out of retirement to go back and play basketball. So now we got, Zach LaVine, and Zach LaVine also wore the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk to win that slam dunk contest that year on Valentine's Day. So, think about how Denzel Valentine now plays for the Chicago Bulls as well, and he wears number 45 like Michael Jordan's number. Michael Jordan, when he came out of retirement, he wore number 45 for 22 games and then switched back to number 23 in the 23rd game. So there's an interesting narrative. And the Chicago Bulls I've been watching this year, been talking about this for like almost a year now, but this year will be the 23rd anniversary of Michael Jordan fully retiring from the Bulls. Think about 23, the Bulls, and so on. So I figure they're going to have a decent season, or at least there's going to be something for me to pay attention to this season. But just pointing out, Zach LaVine, also born on 3/10. So I was like, I knew there's something important to this date, 3/10. And lo and behold, on the date 3/10, we ended up getting an airline crash in Ethiopia. And so let me pull this up here. So this airline crash, right? 3/10. And it was the same type of plane that had crashed back around Halloween. And that airline crash was called the Lion Air crash, Lion Air 610. And what's so interesting about this plane is that it crashed in Kenya. That's what it was. It crashed in Kenya near Hell's Gate National Park. That's where the Lion King setting is based on. And think about Obama as well. Obama joked that he was the Lion King at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and then like 2 days later, they supposedly killed Osama bin Laden, right? And the year 11, and 9/11 was all about the number 11. The Twin Towers look like the number 11, and NWO equals 11. And George Bush gave the speech about, 9/11, or the NWO, 11 years to the day before 9/11, and, New York's the 11th state, and so on. And then they, supposedly kill Osama bin Laden in the year 11. But, Obama said that he was the Lion King, then they killed Osama bin Laden. And Obama just so happens to be born in the time of Leo, the astrological sign of Leo, which is a lion. And I pointed out how this airline crash was synced to the Lion Air crash, but also synced to Haile Selassie of the Rastafari religion. And Haile Selassie is known as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and he was born on the first day of Leo. And Bobby Simpson also pointed out to me that August 10th that year, the Tisha B'Av Day, just so happened to be World Lion Day. And so there was a big thing with lion symbolism that was going on. And Ethiopia was also Ethiopia was also important to the whole Moses narrative that I was talking about with the Super Bowl, because Moses they had the Ark of the Covenant, right? That has the Ten Commandments in it, and the Ark of the Covenant is supposedly in Ethiopia, and so it's all important to the narrative that I was talking about with the Super Bowl and a whole bunch of other things. But I'm just pointing out, and Selassie equals 310 in gematria, and he was the emperor 310. He was buried on the 310th day of the year, and the Ethiopian calendar is also synced up because 9/11 is actually New Year's Day on the Ethiopian calendar, but I think during a leap year it is on September 12th, and that is the day that they believed the Battle of Marathon actually happened in history. And that was interesting because just after this airline crash, we got the death of the rapper Nipsey Hussle, who died right outside of his Marathon store. And Nipsey Hussle also has a bunch of albums that involve Marathon. And if I could find it here, geez. Yeah, Nipsey Hussle died outside of his Marathon clothing store. And he has a bunch of albums like the Marathon Continues. The word marathon just so happens to equal 310. He's also synced up to Los Angeles, and there was a Los Angeles marathon runner who, can't remember what it was, he died like 3 months and 10 days after cheating at the marathon and a bunch of stuff, all synced up to marathon symbolism. But Nipsey Hussle, his real name is like Ermias, which is also an Ethiopian name, right? And his birthday was August 15th, that big day with the Jesuits, where the Jesuits were founded. But also, in history in regards to France, this is the day that Napoleon, the French emperor, was born, the 227th day of the year. And in 2019, it was the 227th anniversary of the French Republic. And French Revolution equals 227. And the French Revolution began by an assembly of the Estates General. Estates General equals 227. And can't even remember it all, a bunch of 227 though. Napoleon born on the 227th day of the year. You talked about how all this was synced up to NASCAR and Dale Earnhardt, who was going to race on August 31st that year, and then Dale Earnhardt supposedly got in a plane crash on August 15th, so, I mean, he lived, but, a plane crash, think about Ethiopia and so on. And I even mentioned how I thought there was going to be a death in racing that day on August 31st, the day that Dale Earnhardt was supposed to race in Darlington. And, of course, the French racer Antoine Hubert died that day. He died in Lyon, France, right? Like a lion, and just after that, we also got like a shooting or something of the sort that happened at Hell's Gate National Park in Kenya, where the Lion King was filmed or based off of, and a whole lot more. But anyway, I just want to keep showing the importance of the number 310. That is the moral of what I am showing here, right? Lots of stuff connected to the number 310, connected to that Tisha B'Av narrative that was important to World Lion Day and a whole bunch of other things. And then on March 22nd, I actually DJ'd at the bar in Dow City, Iowa, and the bar is called Cheers. We just call it Cheers, but my friend actually owns the bar now, and the name is Cheers 2, but we always just call it Cheers. I've never called it Cheers 2 in my life, but his name equals 310 in gematria, right? And anyway, I was DJing at the bar, and my friend asked me about my band, if I could play a band gig on a certain day, and a lot of my DJ stuff is through Facebook. So I was like, I better look through my messages and make sure that I can play on this certain day that he asked me, because it wasn't very busy yet. So I was just kind of sitting there on the internet looking at, whatever, just waiting for people to show up and so on. And when I went to Facebook, the first post that came up was one from Chicozy Truth from 2 days before. And it was about Clay Matthews and signing with the Los Angeles Rams. And what was so interesting is that right behind me is a giant picture of Clay Matthews of when he played for the Green Bay Packers. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. How in the world why would Facebook give me that post? They knew that Clay Matthews is right behind me. And I never said Clay Matthews or anything. It literally had to have used my webcam and saw. Actually, this computer doesn't even have a webcam. So that's what's even weirder about it. The webcam on this computer doesn't even work. And so how in the world Facebook would give me a post about Clay Matthews from 2 days before, the same day I'm sitting right in front of this giant Clay Matthews thing, is beyond me, But I just kind of looked at the gematria, and Green Bay Packers is 150, Clay Matthews 150, the town that I was in equals 150, and on the other side of the wall there, I was DJing like right here, and the Clay Matthews is over here. Right here, it says Dow City, Iowa, 150th, because they were celebrating their 150th year as a town, which I was also DJing a talent show for that day. And I was just like, that is some crazy stuff, right? Synchronicity at this bar, Cheers. And then I noticed that apparently I didn't even know that my friend was a Green Bay Packers fan, though. I don't know. I just haven't been paying that much attention lately, and so on. But then his name equaled 310. So I was like, huh. That once again, there has to be something important to this narrative. It just keeps making me follow this narrative. And then a couple days later, it was on that Monday, so I DJ'd on Saturday, and then on Monday, I was at work, and I can't remember, but this lady, I don't know, I work at a gas station, so like people are supposed to sign their lottery tickets when they cash them in, but a lot of times if they don't sign them, I just rate something random on there, like, I don't know, Joe Biden, or just something just random, Queen Elizabeth, or just all over the place. Who knows? Whatever pops in my head, that's what I write, instead of just having them sign it. And that particular day, some lady had cashed in a ticket and left, and I wrote Mary Poppins on the back. And then the next person who walked in the store was a lady wearing a shirt that said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And I was like, what are the odds that, it's a play on Mary Poppins after I randomly write Mary Poppins out of nowhere on the back of this lottery ticket. And I just knew there had to be something to it. And I came home and I think I searched Mary Poppins on my blog to see if there was anything important. And it brought me to this post about The Simpsons and Family Guy. And it was an episode of, I can't remember. There was an episode of The Simpsons called Simpsa, whatever, a play on Mary Poppins. So I was like, huh, interesting. And it led me to look up season 3, episode 10 of The Simpsons. And would you believe this episode just so happened to be a parody of the TV show Cheers? Flaming Moe's season 3, episode 10. The whole thing was a parody of the TV show Cheers. And I was like, dude, what? On Saturday night, I have this weird synchronicity at the bar, Cheers. Now I have the synchronicity with Mary Poppins. And I look up the Simpsons episode, season 3, episode 10. And it is a parody of the TV show called Cheers. So then, let me look here. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, because there's a lot of information. That's why I said in the beginning of the thing. But it's just how I follow patterns, I'm trying to explain how I follow patterns. But so I have the synchronicity with Mary Poppins. I even had recently watched the movie White Men Can't Jump Again with Woody Harrelson. And Woody Harrelson, of course, is in the movie Cheers, or the TV show Cheers. But let me go back up here. Then, a few days after this, there was a mainstream article about how the TV show The Big Bang Theory is going to surpass the TV show Cheers with the most episodes or whatever. And on their 276th episode, they were going to surpass the TV show Cheers. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me, right? The Big Bang Theory was important to that narrative with Corey Feldman, who was important to Luke Perry dying, right? And synced up to that troll theme, synced up to the number 310 with Corey Haim and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And then now The Big Bang Theory is going to surpass Cheers. And they weren't going to do it until May 2nd on the 276th episode. And that episode had Kal Penn on it, right? Which he's only on 3 episodes of The Big Bang Theory, and Kal Penn ended up being on this one. But I'll come back to that. I just want to show the importance of this. And this story was also synced up to Kaylee Kuko, who plays Penny on The Big Bang Theory. And I talked all about how she was synced up to, it was 3 months and 28 days after her birthday, and the story came on 3/28. And I knew it was important to her even further because there was another story in the news about her and her losing her wallet. So I was like, there's, it has to be important to her. And Penny, of course, in real life was married to a horse jockey, right? Or an equestrian, right? And just keep that in mind, because later, talking about how the Kentucky Derby was important to Harold and Kumar with Kal Penn and Guantanamo Bay and so on, right? And she just recently announced they were getting divorced too, right? In 2021. Wasn't that long ago. She announced that she's getting a divorce. So once again, I know that this narrative is important. And then that Miguel Mena, the horse racer, dies the same day that Christy Swanson gets coronavirus, Hopefully this makes sense. But what did I point out? Oh, the 276th episode was season 12, episode 21. And I had previously documented all about Penny and how her birthday on the show is December 2nd, which is 2/12, like 212. And in real life, she got married 212 days after her birthday. And on the show, her and Leonard got married 2 months and 12 days after her birthday on 2/12. And it was interesting that this episode where they surpassed Cheers was going to be season 12, episode 21, 12/21. So, but in relation to France, that is their French President Emmanuel Macron's birthday, 12/21. But, and think about how, Alex Trebek announced his cancer right around that same time. Think about, Amy on The Big Bang Theory, right? She's now hosting Jeopardy, right? So there's definitely an interesting narrative ends. This story about Penny and her wallet equals 73, Penny Hofstadter equals 73. And remember Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, his favorite number is 73 because the number 73 is the 21st prime number, and its reflection of 37 is the 12th prime number, right? And he calls it the Chuck Norris of numbers. And if you look up Chuck Norris, would you believe Chuck Norris just so happens to be born on 3/10 even, right? So once again, I knew that this was all connected, somehow. It's like, and it's all synced up to pi. We had the death of Stephen Hawking right around that same time. And his name equaled 328, and think about how this story came on 3/28 and how it was 3 months and 28 days after Kaylee Kuko's birthday. And I documented a whole bunch of stuff about pi. I'm not going to keep going on with that, but I'm trying to think. After I made this video, Zenith pointed out a whole bunch of stuff to me about how it was synced up to Francis Bacon gematria. And, like 3.14, like pi equals 328 in Francis Bacon gematria. And also in the Francis Bacon gematria, if you read out the Big Bang Theory, just show you really quick, the Big Bang Theory, it equals 328. So I knew that the story coming on 3/28 about the Big Bang Theory surpassing Cheers was important. And I started thinking how it was a Chinese pig year. And I was like, because I like to have an excuse. And when I'm using an extra cipher, I like to have a reasoning behind why I'm using that cipher a lot of times. I mean, it doesn't always work that way, but when you're trying to explain it to somebody else, I like to have like a concrete meaning, So it was the Chinese pig year. And I was also talking a lot about France. And I was like, France and Francis Bacon. Think about bacon. Think about the Chinese pig year, right? So I was like, I just feel like there's something important to that. So I started following these ciphers. And ever since then, it's nonstop. Like they're the, they're absolutely so relevant. It's like that stupid extra layer of understanding what is going on. I mean, like I said, Atlanta equals 95, and the Braves just won in that big 95 ritual synced up to Hank Aaron and so on, right? Atlanta, 95 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. But just so many other examples. I'm not going to keep going on with that. But as I was making this blog post, just studying up on the Big Bang Theory, I noticed that a lot of the stuff that I documented about with the Big Bang Theory was a lot to do with the number 516. And like I had a video about the number 73 and the Big Bang Theory, and it was something to do with season 5, episode 16. And I also had a blog post about the Big Bang Theory on the date 516. So I was like, I wonder if there's something important to 516. There's something interesting to that. And a month before that, I had got a copy or a strike on my YouTube channel over a music video that I had out called Club Life, where I used the Breakfast Club, clips from the movie The Breakfast Club. And the video was on there for like 10 years, and then YouTube all of a sudden gave it a strike and gave my channel a strike for it. And that strike lasted until the date May 16th, 5/16. And what was interesting too, I noticed is the final ever episode of The Big Bang Theory was going to be on the date 5/16. Let's go back here. I know I pulled it up somewhere in here. So they surpassed Cheers with the 276th episode on the date May 2nd, but the final episodes, I guess it was a double one, but they aired on May 16th, 5/16. And this also stuck out to me too because just a few days before all of this, the story of Cheers surpassing, or Big Bang Theory surpassing Cheers, I had synchronicity at work with a guy who looked like, I was watching Step Brothers and how they were, I don't even know, there's something on Facebook, and I was watching that music video about I'm on a boat with Step Brothers. And then the next customer that came to the store was a guy who looks a lot like John C. Reilly that I know. And when I typed out his name in gematria and satanic gematria, it equaled 516. And John C. Reilly equaled 516 in satanic gematria. So I was like, there must be something important to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Big Bang Theory, and the date 5/16. There has to be something that's going on with it, right? So I just know that there's something important to the date 5/16 with all that, right? With Big Bang Theory, all these things synced up. And actually, before I even move a little bit further, I should point out, the same day that I had the synchronicity with Mary Poppins at work and the lady wearing the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious shirt, that very same day, there was a story of, there was this story on CNN, or this story came days later, but it actually happened on that same day as the Mary Poppins thing. We had strong winds and man soaring into the air like Mary Poppins, right? I was like, what are the odds I have Mary Poppins synchronicity? Then a few days later, CNN has a headline story about Mary Poppins and the event that happened. It happened on the same day that I had synchronicity with Mary Poppins. But it was this man in Turkey who floated away on an umbrella. And Turkey in satanic gematria equals 310. And we also had the anus cantor stuff that was going on in the media. And anus cantor, of course, important to Turkey. So I was like, interesting. And then I started thinking about the umbrella stuff too, and how in relation to the Chinese pig year and Francis Bacon, clear back around the time that I was getting super trolled on my videos, and I talked about that troll theme around Jeopardy, that was around the same time that the All for Truth launched by Zach with the umbrella logo, and then the guy named the Umbrella Man made a video telling him to watch out for Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Eve, Zach's got a car crashed into his house, right? And I've talked about this so many times, but then my uncle died or whatever, and It was all about the number 166, and he died in a weird car wreck that still just makes no sense. And this very same day that he died, I got an express ship letter in the mail with $300 in it that basically just told me to quit making these videos and believe in God. And I was just like, how odd is that, right? That's pretty freaking strange that it was like an express ship letter. I can't remember what it was, like $15 or $25 or something like that, to send me this letter to come on the exact same day my uncle dies at the Jesuit University, and he's a fourth degree Knight of Columbus, and he died all by the numbers. He died 191 days before his birthday, like Society of Jesus, and his name equal 191. And it just doesn't make sense. The wreck story does not make any sense whatsoever. But it was a lot to do with the number 166 in his death. And 166 days later, after my birthday, the Umbrella Man made another video about the number 166. And I was like, dude, that has to be connected to me because I'm the only one talking about this number like crazy. And now he makes another video about 166, 166 days after my birthday. And I was just like, trying to figure out what it was. And I think it was the next night or maybe 2 nights later on the Gematria Effect, some lady named Mary Toffelmeyer calls in, and her name just so happens to equal 166. And it was right after I had talked about how maybe we were going to find a truth seeker named Mary as well, because I was talking about the angel Gabriel and how my name is Daniel and Zachary K. Hubbard is like Zachariah, Daniel, Zachariah, and Mary, the only three people that Gabriel talks to in the Bible or whatever. She tells Mary she's going to birth Jesus, and he tells Daniel of, he helps Daniel with his dreams and so on, or his visions, and, he also talks to Zachariah about, can't remember, but I don't know why it's escaping me right now. Something to do with John the Baptist, but, right? So I was talking about this, and then the Umbrella Man makes that video about me, or about 166 days after my birthday. And then that next night or whatever it was on the Gematria Effect, that this lady calls in, whose name equals 166, and tells Zach how Monograph, or the Umbrella Man, she's his next victim, and he's after her, and they're trying to hurt her pet pig, or whatever. And what was interesting is that night, my daughter had went to bed, and she told me to watch her pet pigs. They were these stuffed animal pigs that were sitting on the couch. And I told her I would watch them, and they were sitting right next to me while I'm listening to the Gematria Effect. And then this lady calls in about the Umbrella Man and how he's trying to kill her pet pig, right? And I'm like, dude, so thinking about this Mary Poppins stuff, the umbrella, right? And the Chinese pig ear, Francis Bacon, thinking how it's all related. And lo and behold, right after all this happened, Zach's live stream got hacked with porn. And if you write out porn hack in the Sumerian ciphers, porn hack equals 516. So I was like, that is crazy. And I even point out how the word pig equaled 310 and the reverse, just pointing it out. It's interesting that it even have a connection to 310 in any of the ciphers, but it was just interesting that, out of nowhere, Zach's channel gets hacked with porn, and I'm thinking how it's connected, the Umbrella Man is connected and so on, and Zach really is synced up to a lot of umbrella symbolism. It's like amazing how many things he is connected to with the umbrella thing that I've showed forever, and think about the Umbrella Man and the JFK assassination, and there's a whole lot more. It's a lot to do with number 186, and they deleted his first ever YouTube channel 186 days after the car crashed into his house, and so on the day leaving 186 days in the year too, and which is also Elon Musk's birthday, and he's all connected to 186, and so is Jeff Bezos, and a whole lot of things. But just pointing it out. It was interesting. I'm talking about the Umbrella Man again, and then all of a sudden Zach's live stream gets hacked with porn, and they hacked it by the numbers, and porn hack equaled 516. But anyway, I'll keep going here, but I even talked about there's a famous exorcism that happened like 13 miles away from where I live, in Erling, Iowa. And I blogged how this town was originally called Marathon, Iowa, too, right? Marathon 310. But they changed it to Erling because there's already a town called Marathon, Iowa. Or at least that's what the Wikipedia has said forever. And it's interesting because the girl who was possessed, her name was Emma Schmidt, and Emma Schmidt equaled 310 in gematria, Jewish gematria, just like the word marathon. And she actually came from Marathon, Wisconsin, to come to Erling, Iowa, that was originally named Marathon, right? So all this 310 stuff. And then, like a year later, like to the day, the gas station in that small town blew up. It was called Erling Standard. Then in the Francis Bacon gematria equals 310, right? So it's just interesting, But I was at my friend Cody. I had band practice then on April 4th, right after a lot of this happened. And this is where Alec Baldwin fits into the narrative because, and my friend Cody, his favorite player is Zach LaVine. So that's even more interesting, right? And that night, he even showed me how he got a Zach LaVine jersey and so on, because Zach LaVine used to play for the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is his favorite team and so on. But I had band practice, and he lives like a block away from where we had band practice, and it got done early because the basement was flooded. So I was like, I'm gonna go hang out with Cody for a while, and he started talking to me about Nipsey Hussle, and I started telling him about how Nipsey Hussle died by the numbers, and then I went off on this big old tangent about how, I talked about the duck in the summer before that. I talked about how there was this big drowning theme synced up to like ducks and the Mighty Ducks, and then the next day we got the duck boat drowning in Branson, Missouri, and then Goldberg the goalie then got arrested a couple weeks later from the Mighty Ducks and a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I was telling him that story and how it was all linked up, and then I went in and went pee, and all of a sudden I heard him go, "No way! You gotta be fucking kidding me! No way!" And I was just like, "What is going on?" And he's like, "You just told me all about that duck stuff, and you went in to pee, and then I just turned on the TV, and the coach of the Mighty Ducks walks out on the Jimmy Fallon show." And I was like, "See, I'm telling you, this is what I'm talking about. There's something just greater going on in the world where I have these synchronicities all the time. Now you get to witness it. And it was just crazy. He was mind blown, and I was like, dude, that's nuts. I got to go home and check this out. And I thought he was just a guest on the show, but it turns out he was actually just coming out for a surprise birthday party to surprise Alec Baldwin. So it was Alec Baldwin's birthday, and then the coach of the Mighty Ducks came out, right? So just think about this. Alec Baldwin now in the news, right? I don't know the full meaning of this, but I just want to make this video put it out. Alec Baldwin. And Alec Baldwin just so happens to equal 516 in the Sumerian cipher, right? 516. And this synchronicity happened 5 months and 16 days before Jimmy Fallon's birthday, right? Saturday Night Live. Think about Will Ferrell and, Step Brothers and that thing I had with 516 as well. You think about Norm Macdonald too. Norm Macdonald just recently dying, and then we get the thing with Alec Baldwin, and Norm Macdonald was synced up to Alex Trebek and Sean Connery. So there's a definite, narrative that's going on there. And trying to think here. In relation to Squid Game and pigs and money, this year was also really important to Ross Perot. I was talking about Dana Carvey and uh, before that, because we had the Aurora, Chicago or Aurora, whatever shooting it was. And then it was synced up to Wayne's World that's in Aurora, Illinois. And Wayne's World, of course, made popular Bohemian Rhapsody, right? Wayne's World has that scene with the cop and they say that you smell bacon, you know, Mike Myers and Halloween. I mean, there's something just related to it. And I'm trying to, make this video to figure out the full connection, I'm trying to just put the information out here. But actually, I'm gonna look really quick. I wonder what my friend Cody's name is in like the Francis Bacon ciphers. Cody Green. That's very interesting. Like Squid Game, and this 148 number was really important to the train symbolism that I've talked about. And then literally like I mentioned how I thought there's going to be something to do with trains and Amtraks, whatever. And then we've had like countless stories about trains and Amtraks and derailments, and the list goes on. A guy dressed up like the Joker in Tokyo just the other day, right? Supposedly tried stabbing people or whatever, and it's interesting. Hmm. I will have to think more on that, but that is interesting that he has that connection to Cody Green, the Squid Game. Think about green and money and possibly nothing, It's just an interesting thought to me. So anyway, I mean, there's just so much more to talk about here. Like I'm gonna skip over probably this whole month here, but there was all kinds of just things that kept leading me. I mean, that's synchronicity with Scooby Doo, right? We'll look at this one, Scooby Doo number 310. But I'm just kind of skimming through here, seeing if there was a 310 thing. Well, I'll skip over that one too because I don't want to have to reread it. But this is a lot to remember. But Los Angeles in the 310 area code, even like think about Nipsey Hussle, that marathon guy, right? 310. It was even because of this that was going on that I thought there was something connected to Los Angeles and earthquakes and the Angel of Independence statue in Mexico. And then on Independence Day, the City of Angels gets an earthquake. So I thought, synced up to a bunch of stuff like Luke Walton leaving and whatever, but all kinds of stuff with 516, 310, talked about Talladega Nights, and the Mandela effect was also synced up to the horse race, right? Because that horse named Omaha Beach, like the owner was Richard Mandela, and I don't want to get into that because it's just going to take another hour to explain the Mandela effect thing that was synced up to all this, but that's why the Kentucky Derby was switched to 9-5 though during coronavirus because Mandela effect is 95 and Nelson Mandela supposedly died at the age of 95 and or he did die I guess, but people believed he died earlier than that, so a lot to do with 95, which is interesting once again with the Braves and 95 and think about Michael Jordan too. Michael Jordan's really important to Sirius. Michael Jordan important to the date 310. Sirius equals 95. The date 723 is also that important day to Sirius and the heliacal rising of Sirius, right? And that's the day that Michael Jordan's father died. That's also the day the Indians changed their name or announced their name change to the Guardians. The name change for the Washington football team was also named that day. It's also the day that Haile Selassie, right, the Rastafari guy in Ethiopia, was born. The first day of Leo. That's even also the day that my Uncle Barney was born, right? So, my uncle who died right after the Umbrella Man stuff. So, definitely an important day. And my name equals 95. My full name equals 95. I have this huge connection to Sirius. I even live on 95 degrees west, and I was born in the pig hour of the dog year. This is like craziness, but I'm trying to find what I wanted to show here. Okay, so then we get the horse race, right? Country House wins Kentucky Derby at maximum security. So maximum security got DQ'd, right? And then Country House won. And the same day there was a plane that crashed coming from Guantanamo Bay, and think about maximum security, Guantanamo Bay, and it skidded into the 310-mile St. John's River, I believe it was. The plane did. But I put it out how I wonder if there's something with Harold and Kumar, because Penny was synced up to horse racing. And on the recent episodes of The Big Bang Theory, the one where they surpassed Cheers, that just so happened to be Kal Penn, the guy who just came out as gay, right? He was only on 3 episodes of The Big Bang Theory. It just so happened to be around this same time, right? In that final season, and his final episode was the plagiarism schism, and that just so happened to be the episode where they surpassed Cheers. So I was like, there has to be something to Harold and Kumar with Guantanamo Bay, and also August 11th is important to Tisha B'Av, which is important to the third temple construction that we talked about. And this whole Kentucky Derby was all synced up to, I might be mixing this one up here. I'm trying to think. Now I'll go back here. The Kentucky Derby, it was really linked up to, oh, I gotta find it here. I'm gonna type in Titus really quick. Yeah. So I had Synchronicity driving by when the horse race was going on. I randomly looked up and I saw a road named Titus or something, and yeah, I took a wrong turn, and right as I found out who won the horse race, I was listening to it on my phone or whatever. I read that I was on Titus Avenue in Omaha, and then a few seconds later, I looked up and there was a Nelson Mandela Elementary School, and once again, the horse Omaha Beach, and think of how I was in Omaha that day, was synced up to the owner named Richard Mandela, and think about the Mandela effect and so on. But Titus is the ruler. Titus is the ruler who destroyed the second temple in Jerusalem, right? And it was important because he was in the Flavian dynasty, and the jockey of Omaha Beach, I believe it was, his name was Flavian Pratt. And there was also, so maximum security was DQ'd, but there was another horse that had the same trainer as Country House, the one that eventually won, named Tacitus. And if you look up Tacitus, Tacitus was a guy who lived during the time of Titus, which was also during the time of the Mount Vesuvius eruption. So, and I've been talking a lot about volcano symbolism too, and how it's synced up to Mount Vesuvius too. So it's just very interesting how all of this is coming together, And on White Men Can't Jump with Woody Harrelson, who's also on Cheers, his girlfriend goes on Jeopardy, and one of the things they go to the judges because she says what does she say? I can't remember. What is Mount Suvius? And then they give it to her, but it's Mount Vesuvius or whatever. Think about how that is connected in there, but that, I don't know. It was synced up to August 11th, and the Tisha B'Av narrative is the main point I'm getting at, right? And so we had that plane skids off the runway into the St. John's River in Florida, and Florida equals 310. And so then I ended up watching Harold and Kumar escape from Guantanamo Bay because I was like, I wonder if there's something important to that movie because of that maximum security getting DQ'd, and then we have a plane that skids coming from Guantanamo Bay. So I watched Harold and Kumar escape from Guantanamo Bay. And when I was watching the movie, they go to this whorehouse, and then Doogie Howser, he gets shot. And you assume he dies, but apparently they made another movie and he actually didn't die. But in this movie, it is believed that he died. But this girl right here, the main whore, the head whore of the house, the one who shoots him or whatever, I actually have met her in real life. I went to a strip club with my friend Fonzo, who's Cuban, believe it or not. He's half Cuban, and his dad actually swam to the one of the military bases, and that's how he came here because he swam to the military base like whatever, and he got to come to America, and then he started a family, whatever. And but we went to the strip club in Denison, Iowa, and she was there. She had like the fourth biggest boobs in the world. She almost broke my glasses in between her boobs, I remember. So it's just funny. I used to even have like an autographed picture of her. It's so odd. But I was like, dude, I actually know that girl. And it's weird because my friend Fonzo, this is like his favorite movie too. Like, or at least the first one was. He always talked about that movie. And then, then the next one goes to Guantanamo Bay. He's half Cuban, right? So it's just weird. I don't know. But that's what I blogged about. I blogged about this. But right after he gets shot, Doogie Howser, right? Right after he gets shot, maybe I didn't put it in this post. Well, where in the world did I put it? Oh, I gotta find it. Hold on. So right after he gets shot, Harold and Kumar take Doogie Howser's car, and they're just randomly like looking through stuff at his car, and he goes, like, that's a creepy mask or whatever. But what's interesting is that's a mask from one of the members of Slipknot, Chris Fane, this guy, right? However you say his name. And it's like, what are the odds that Slipknot is involved with this, right? I'm talking about how Slipknot's important to Tisha B'Av and so on, and Slipknot is somehow interrelated into this whole big narrative. And then in Harold and Kumar, there's the Slipknot mask. And this guy had just quit the band or got kicked out like only a couple months before. And it was just like, okay, that is some weird stuff. And it's funny in this blog post, I even talk about Denver and magic mushrooms and eating mushrooms at my friend Fonzo's house years ago. And he actually knows one of the guys in Slipknot. He even has pictures at his house, like holding his Grammy, and used to party with him because this other guy named Pat that he lived with was like a DJ who played all around, like actual DJ, like turntable type DJ, and I don't know how he got linked up with Sid from Slipknot, but they were like good buddies, and then he lived with this other. My friend Fonzo lived with a guy who was good buddies with Sid, and then that's how he met him or whatever. And uh, so I don't know. It's just interesting. I wrote this in here because lately I've talked a whole lot about this dream theme and mushrooms and how there's something important to it. So it's like it all comes back to that, and I'll even show that again later here in a minute. But look at the guy from Slipknot, born on 2/24, the day leaving 310 days in the year even. So once again, I knew it was synced up to the Buffy, the Vampire Slayer theme, and so on. And of course, Slipknot, their member was Paul Gray, the one who died, the bass player. Only at the time, he's the only member who died, and his nickname was the Pig, right? The Chinese pig ear. So I knew there was something very, very important to this. And Slipknot, so I'm following the date 5/16. Slipknot ends up releasing a brand new single out of nowhere. I had no idea Slipknot was going to release a new album. And they hadn't even released the new album for a long time. And they randomly released a new single on the date 5/16. And then a couple days later, the clown, his daughter, ends up dying, right? Supposedly. But what are the odds? 5/16, Slipknot releases a new single called Unsainted. It equals 35 like Slipknot and so on. But the reason this stuck out to me so much is because if you watched the Big Bang Theory, the very final episode of the Big Bang Theory, it just so happened to have Buffy the Vampire Slayer on it, right? So all these things, like Kal Penn was on the Big Bang Theory on their one where they surpassed Cheers, and he was synced up to Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay. That's synced up to Slipknot, and then Slipknot releases a new single on the date 5/16, and then the Big Bang Theory's final ever episode just so happens to have Buffy the Vampire Slayer on it. And she's like the running joke. And she's also like trying to get with Raj, the Indian guy, and think about how Kal Penn is the Indian guy from Guantanamo Bay. And how, think about Kamala Harris and, she's part Indian or whatever. I don't know. And Kal Penn also, he did something with the government too. Can't even remember what it was, but he was some type of thing for the government. He joined the Obama administration. Think about the lion symbolism, right? Oh, as the principal associate editor in the White House Office of Public Engagement, right? So Kal Penn even worked at the White House. It's definitely something related to this, right? I don't know the full meaning, but it's just like, what are the odds? Buffy the Vampire Slayer on this episode on 5/16. Sheldon even stops his speech at the very end and his Nobel Prize, whatever. He's like, is that Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Like it's the running joke on the whole show. And hopefully this makes sense. I know it's really long, but it's like there are these narratives, and if you pay enough attention and you follow how the gematria links up, it's like it's showing you how they're all actually interrelated. Even though they seem unrelated, they're actually related, All of these things just with Buffy, and it was pointing to the Big Bang Theory, and then I had all that cheer stuff. And then, of course, Buffy's on the final episode of the Big Bang Theory, and then it's all of a sudden synced up to Harold and Kumar and synced up to Slipknot, and then Slipknot releases a new single on the same day of this episode airing. And then we later get a story about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Christy Swanson getting a troll death threat on Twitter, right? And I made the video. It's like it's my homepage video, right? Let me see here. It's this video right here. I made this homepage video, and I mean, look how many dislikes I have. And it's just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, in the video, I show like very concrete examples of gematria, and I even talked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and so on. It's like 530 dislikes. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And there's just like a crap ton of comments just talking crap, So it's like, once again, this is probably my newest, most trolled video, another Slipknot video, and I pointed all that out, and then all of a sudden we get a story about Christy Swanson getting trolled death threats, just like on my old video about Slipknot and how I said I was getting like a bunch of death threats and being trolled, right? But she was on some show with Dean Cain, right? And Dean Cain was Superman, and the whole thing was Slipknot playing at the Iowa State Fair was synced up to Donald Trump saying he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. And there's also, August 15th that year was Ben Affleck's birthday as well. And Ben Affleck was the Batman right after Donald Trump said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. And his birthday, the day synced up to Napoleon, the day synced up to the Jesuits. But look at Dean Cain, his birthday, July 31st, the same day that Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out. So anyway, hopefully all that makes sense. I want to go back to I forgot about Pumbaa too. I'm sorry. I forgot about Pumbaa being the pig on the Lion King. That's it. Hold on. Let me look at this real quick. Pumbaa, the pig, huh? I'll have to think about that a little bit more too. But I want to go back to my recent stuff now, So we had Alec Baldwin, right? And he's somehow related to that with the number 5/16. Why can't I find this? Here we go. And then we get a story about how Kal Penn comes out as gay. And I actually blogged about Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay back on September 7th of 2021 and how it's synced up to the Slipknot narrative. And in that blog post, I even talked about how my friend Fonzo, the Cuban, right, half Cuban guy, how he used to live in Tampa with my friend Darvo, and uh, Tiger King is all synced up to Tampa Bay and Tampa and so on, right? And in this blog post, I talked about the death of Eric Cowie, the guy who died age 53 from Tiger King or whatever. And I went on to talk about Tampa Bay and my friend Darvo, and my friend Darvo actually is married to John Bon Jovi's cousin. And I even put that in this blog post, right? I talked about Harold and Kumar, talked about, let's see if I put it in here. Yeah, how Fonzo moved in. I said, another interesting thing is that the friend he moved in with has a wife that is a cousin to John Bon Jovi. And of course, what did we recently get? We got a story about how John Bon Jovi has coronavirus, right? And my blog post is all about dreams and mushrooms and the Matrix, stuff I've been talking about. But he got it 54 days, same day Kal Penn came out as gay. He got it 54 days after my blog post, and John Bon Jovi equals 54. I mean, John Bon Jovi also, butt buddies with the royal family, something I've talked about a whole lot recently again. So it's just interesting, that I would blog about that, and that John Bon Jovi gets coronavirus. And then Kal Penn comes out as gay, and apparently he's had this partner for 11 years, and he's 44 right now. So that means, he was 33 when he got his boyfriend or whatever, and the word gay equals 33. It's big, you know, bunch of connections to gay and 33. That's all I want to say. But it's like gay 33. Gay also equals 59 in the Francis Bacon, like Tiger, and like how Joe Exotic's going to be 59 years old this year if he lives that long. Suppose he has bad cancer or whatever. Next year will be the Chinese Year of the Tiger as well. Something I've talked about a whole lot with the date August 6th. That'll be Tisha B'Av. So I've been following that date a whole lot, but I didn't have much time to really look into this. But the other guy in Harold and Kumar is John Cho, and, he's from South Korea. He's South Korean, so just sticks out in regards to Squid Game. And I also talked about how Squid Game was synced up to, well, there's a connection to William Shatner going to space and how it's connected to Star Trek and Jeff Bezos and Squid Game and a whole lot more. But Chris Pine, the actor who plays the new William Shatner, his birthday is 26/8, and Year of the Pig is 268, and a whole bunch of stuff, right? But it's interesting that this guy is also in the new Star Wars or Star Trek movies. And let me find it here, but I watched the final one. I've watched the other two now, and still haven't watched that third one called Star Trek Beyond. And what's funny is in this movie, you find out the character he plays is gay. They have a random scene where he's like hugging some guy, and then they have like a kid, and it looks like they're a couple. So I looked it up. Of course, the character he plays is a gay guy, and you're just like, what? So Kal Penn comes out as gay, and then talk about how this is recently synced up to Star Trek. Then I see that this character is gay in Star Trek. Neil Patrick Harris, Doogie Howser, he's also gay. And even funnier is like, I recently even talked about Doogie Howser back in September. Doogie Howser in this same post about Harold and Kumar, Guantanamo Bay, Doogie Howser, right? Because they had a story about the Tiger King guy dying, and then also a story about Doogie Howser returning. So I was like, I thought it was connected somehow, because my friend Fonzo is connected to Tampa Bay, and he's also connected to, one of his favorite movies is Harold and Kumar, and he's also half Cuban. He's also synced up to The Matrix, had synchronicity with The Matrix and him, and he shares a birthday with Keanu Reeves. They got the new Matrix movie coming out. And with the tiger symbolism. And one of the Harold and Kumar movies, they even ride a cheetah, right? I think it's almost to get to White Castle, right? So think about cats and cheetah and big cat rescue and definitely something going on, So we got Christy Swanson here. I'm trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out what I'm supposed to see with this narrative, Makes me wonder, you got like Shannon Doherty, who has cancer and has had it for, almost 2 years now, or like it's been in the news a lot. Just makes me wonder if she might possibly die because she has that connection to Luke Perry and Beverly Hills 90210, which, it wouldn't surprise anybody, but I just wonder if she's going to die soon, We're coming up, November 6th is the 310th day of the year. And that jockey who died, right? So this jockey dies the same day as Kal Penn comes out as gay. And he was born on the 310th day of the year in 1986, which reminds me of that Tiger year. And he died at age 34, and Luke Perry died on 3/4. Let's see here. And there's also a Christmas Harold and Kumar. I never knew that. I need to rewatch. I need to watch this movie. Never even seen it, but apparently Doogie Howser doesn't die, and he lives, and so. Also, in regards to Money and Penny on The Big Bang Theory being the equestrian, synced up to that, her jockey husband. Think about Penny, Money, I don't know, bacon, pigs. She gets divorced in the year of the ox. The ox and the horse are the greatest enemy. Think about Prince Philip, and Philip means lover of horses. He dies, and then on Francis Bacon's birthday, even, right? I'm pretty sure. What's Francis Bacon here? Prince Philip died on the same day that Francis Bacon died in history. 4/9, the 99th day of the year. Honestly, what I think I'm supposed to see, though, is it's something important to France. Because remember, hold on one second. Where's my post at? So this jockey, right? Hold on. Let me spin a few more things. Sorry. But this jockey, he just died 5 months, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer got coronavirus 5 months and 16 days after the date 5/16. And also Bohemian Rhapsody equals 516 in the Francis Bacon ciphers. And think about how that's connected to the Slipknot with Kanye West and so on, 5/16. But what I think it is important to France, because if you look up the date, May 16th is the day leaving 229 days in the year. And keep in mind, this year is the 229th anniversary of the French Republic. And it began on the date 22/9, which was 2 months and 29 days before the French President Emmanuel Macron's birthday. And his birthday is 229 days before August 6th, or when Tisha B'Av begins. And in the Francis Bacon ciphers, if you write out France, it equals 229. So 5/16 is just an interesting day because it's the day leaving 229 days in the year. It's also interesting that if you go from the anniversary of the French Republic this year, the 229th anniversary on 22/9, to the date 3/10 of next year, it's 5 months and 16 days. Yet again, this relationship, 3/10 and 516. And recall how Squid Game has been really important to a lot of the things that are going on. And Squid Game just so happened to come out on September 17th. And on that same day, we got a story about the France being mad about the Australian submarine deal, right? Let me find this post here. But France was mad about the Australian nuclear submarine deal on the same day that Squid Game came out. And this is interesting because think about Australia and how the whole Buffy the Vampire Slayer narrative started because I saw a story about Buffy and lingerie on the same day there was a 310-mile dust storm in Australia, right? So there's something definitely linked up to that. Australia and France, and, the story was all by the numbers. Submarine 102 and 141, Australia 102, 141, France equals 141, World War equals 102 as well. It was actually synced up to my dad, but I'll leave that out of here for now, but there's something important to how this submarine deal. And we also got the story in relation to Squid Game. We recently got a story about North Korea launching a missile from a submarine, right? So we also, just trying to think here. In relation to Slipknot, we also had this story back in September around the time of Squid Game where Machine Gun Kelly, he mocked the Slipknot and their masks and whatever, right? And then just after that, Conor McGregor, had beef with Machine Gun Kelly at one of the award shows and all that. But it's interesting because Machine Gun Kelly's girlfriend, Megan Fox, is born on May 16th, 516, also in the year 86. With this big number I'm talking about with next year and the Tiger year and August 6th. So there's definitely something important. And Conor McGregor, he was just in UFC 264 that was all by the numbers, and it was all synced up to France, and he's been synced up to France for as long as I can remember because his birthday is the same day as Bastille Day in France, right? He has the same day as Bastille Day, and his name equals 229. Slipknot's from Des Moines, Iowa, that equals 229. Conor McGregor just lost to Dustin Poirier 5 months and 16 days after the last time they fought. And Dustin's name, is a French name, so 5 months, 16 days after the last time they fought. I mean, this is why these Francis Bacon ciphers are so important. Look, France 229, Conor McGregor 229, his fight with Khabib, the Russian guy or whatever, was at UFC 229. Dustin Poirier, his nickname is the Diamond, that equals 229. His actual name in France is Bacon, equals 229. His full name equals 229. He just fought Conor McGregor at UFC 264 just before the Phoenix Suns. We're in the... It was all synced up to the moon and space, this number was, and then, then we had Milwaukee beat the Phoenix Suns, and it was linked up to the moon and whatever, but it makes me wonder, too, thinking about just thinking about this, it makes me wonder about UFC 268 that is coming up on the 310th day of the year, this Saturday, right? November 6th. And I don't know, 268 is this big number I've been seeing. I've been talking about it a lot. Synced up to the royal family. It was synced up to the William Shatner stuff and Chris Pine being born on 26/8. And if you read out Guantanamo Bay, it just so happens to equal 268, just like Year of the Pig equals 268, and Year of the Tiger equals 268. I don't know what it is about that number, but I keep seeing that number over and over, and it's interesting that we have UFC 268 coming out, and I'm just thinking about the relationship to Conor McGregor and France, and this Usman guy, he just so happens to be from Nigeria, and Nigeria just had that building collapse, right? Just like how there was that building collapse in Florida earlier this year. I haven't even checked this out, but I'm just trying to piece this together, Just, it's weird. There's something related to that. I need to look all this up again. I'll make a different blog post, but it's just absolutely related. And then France is synced up to Australia being mad about the submarine deal. Australia was the main story in the news the day of the whole Buffy narrative began. We even just had Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers. He announced they said that he has coronavirus. Aaron Rodgers also equals 268. And he supposedly got coronavirus 3 months and 10 days before the Super Bowl begins this year. 3 months and 10 days, right? 310. And, I'm just wondering about that Clay Matthews sync with Cheers and the Green Bay Packers. And let's see what Green Bay Packers even equals. 228. Then we had the Braves win. The Braves used to be from Milwaukee. I don't know, there's a link there at some point. I don't fully see it. 5/16 is also 129 days before the 230th anniversary of the French Republic. And this is that big volcano number that I've talked about a lot too. 129. Aaron Rodgers, also important to the Jeopardy, right? Think about Jeopardy and Amy from the Big Bang Theory. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Leonard Nimoy was synced up to that Cheers stuff and Pie, right? Talked about all of this stuff in 2019. Leonard Nimoy, Spock, Star Trek, William Shatner just goes to space. That George Takei guy who originally played the same character as John Cho, the guy in Harold and Kumar that's gay or whatever, him and William Shatner have like a big beef too, right? They don't like each other or whatever. The George Takei guy is mad at William Shatner, right? So you further know that character is important. And John Cho, the guy from Harold and Kumar, also playing him, that's somehow linked into all of this. I also think that it's important to a lot of this because on November 1st, I actually made a blog post about Zach starting this new channel, and then one of the early videos is about, he's calling out Russian vids and Richie from Boston, and this is a narrative that I've been following too. Like when Zach did the live stream with Russian vids back on January 9th, and it was synced up to Philadelphia and Allen Iverson, and then Zach makes this video on October 27th, which is the anniversary of Philadelphia. You just can't even make it up, but I'm not going to go in depth with this, but look what I talked about in this title here. Talked about step by step and how he messed up with Suzanne Summers, and she's on the TV show Step by Step that takes place in Port Washington, Wisconsin. And that's where Dustin Diamond was from. And think about Dustin Poirier and how his nickname was the Diamond, Dustin Diamond. And then Dustin Diamond dies, right around the same time that him and Conor McGregor last fought before UFC 264. And notice I also talked about Turd Ferguson in this post. And, went on to talk about Aaron Rodgers and Turd Ferguson. So there is something linked up to, how it all is connected. And today, I started this video last night, and now it's like almost the whole next day. Just wanted to kind of finish it up here, but, all of this was synced up to the RV symbolism with the Umbrella Man and so on, who the Umbrella Man said he had an RV, a remote view, and then whatever, he had a remote view. Then we had the RV bombing that was linked up to a bunch of truth seekers like Bobby Simpson and Zach and RV Truth, because the guy looked a lot like Roddy Piper from They Live. And then Jeff C died, and Jeff C, his final video that he didn't do, but the thumbnail was of Alex Jones and Bill Gates looking like They Live. And, right now it's the 33rd anniversary of They Live, so I was watching this whole area and whatever to see what comes, and then Zach makes a video about RV Truth just before the 33rd anniversary. I mean, and that doesn't mean I'm saying that he planned that all out. I'm just saying I show these synchronicities all the time with myself. Right? There is a definite pattern going on, and that's why I keep saying, hey, we need to be wary of like why we believe certain things, and when you follow a certain pattern, you need to make sure that you're not being led down a path, That's why I don't like saying that every time I see a 201 that it means the Jesuits, because sometimes I think that whatever's going on, it wants us to believe that, and then it wants us to go down this whole path, but it's actually something deeper. There's something, greater, and it's obvious there's something that is controlling even the gematria truth community too. I don't know if it's people, whatever it is, but there is something that is guiding us and steering us down certain paths and manipulating us, and even if you don't realize it. And I've been pointing this out forever. So that's why I don't like doing that. I like showing that a pattern exists, but that doesn't necessarily prove that it's the Jesuits, right? It proves that there's a pattern that is connected to them, but that doesn't necessarily prove that they are responsible for what's going on, if that makes sense, And I just want people to be wary of that, right? And I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that it is important to the Jesuits and the Catholic Church, and they're obviously somehow related into, the cabal that is ruling over us. Don't get me wrong, but it's obvious there's fake news stories and there's coded news stories and so on, but there's just so much more that is going on that a lot of people are missing because they're not paying attention and they're just following that path that we're being led down, So, once again, people always ask me that. I don't think Zach is a bad person or anything like that. I just, he's just showing the pattern that he believes is showing us a certain thing, And that's the only thing I really disagree with him about, is that you don't know for sure it is the Jesuits just because there's a pattern linked to that, because there's all these other things that are linked to it that have nothing to really do with the Jesuits, but they're synced to the Jesuits, and that's how you understand the pattern, And there's just so much more. I've talked about it plenty of times, but people always ask me that question, I feel like, and then it's just like, no, I don't think that he's a bad person or anything. It's just he doesn't see this greater connection that is going on. But even like his when he got bear sprayed, right? Look at this. He got bear sprayed on John Carpenter's birthday. The guy who wrote, or the guy, who has the film They Live, right? John Carpenter's birthday, right after he does the video with RV Truth, and that was all synced up by the numbers, and number 33 and the Jesuits, and his girlfriend being from Myanmar, and then they had that story about Winston Marshall in March, and how he was quit his band because he was a supporter of Andy No. And then I linked that up to George Orwell, and then later on I found out that his girlfriend is born on the same day as George Orwell, which is 3 months and 3 days before the Jesuit anniversary. And Sweet Lady's 33 equals 33, so it's a bunch of stuff here. So, moral of the story, I just wanted to show this post because I just wanted to show that there's something related. I don't see the full pattern yet, but, him messing up by saying that Suzanne Summers was dead in his video or whatever. And then I talk about Dustin Diamond and Turd Ferguson, and Aaron Rodgers has that 268 number. There's just something related. And I really think it's all important to France. Something I was really talking about all 2019, and then nothing super big happened in France. There were a few things that went on with France, but like the Notre Dame fire and stuff like that, synced up to Garth Brooks, right? And his song Standing Outside the Fire that he played at the Notre Dame University. like 134 days before, and Garth Brooks equals 134 or something like that. So Tisha B'Av ended up being linked up to China a whole lot in the Hong Kong riots. And, you know, we got a story about the guy who created the Louvre Pyramid died, and his name was I.M.Pei, and he was from China. And Slipknot was really important to that fair symbolism I was talking about all year. And of course, China was hosting the World's Fair that year, and that's why the Nationals went on to win the World Series, because they used to be called the Expos, and the Expo was a fair. And I talked about all this recently, and then we got a Ferris wheel that collapsed in China. Like the next day, there's a story about a Ferris wheel that collapsed in China. So it's a lot of interrelated things going on. So, well, I'll keep following it. I'm going to look into some of this stuff when I get time, but I got to work again tomorrow. So maybe I'll look a little bit more into it, but tonight, because I bet you anything that building collapse in Florida was linked up to the Nigerian one. Maybe somebody already covered that. I just haven't watched anybody's stuff with that, but I would bet I mean, I know it's related. I don't even have to bet that it's related. I'm sure it's related. And Nigeria was important too. I remember talking about Nigeria. Hold on, I'm sorry. I know I'm just rambling now, but I know I talked about Nigeria at some point. It was around the death of Kobe. There was something important. Yeah, because Giannis is also from Nigeria, right? I mean, it says Athens, but he has a connection to Nigeria. And then Hakeem Olajuwon, there's a bunch of stuff with the Rockets, and Hakeem Olajuwon, part of the Twin Towers. He's also connected to Nigeria. And that was like right around the time that this guy got real big too. I'm pretty sure. But I'll look more into it. So I'm going to just leave it there. Have a good one. Peace.